still of night, where shadows creep. Dan and Norm guide us, no secrets to keep. Through the ancient woods, where lost souls sigh, Bigfoot watches from the depths, lurking nearby. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. Echoes of laughter from realms out of sight. Ghostly apparitions dance in the pale moonlight. In haunted halls where shadows entwine, Dan and Norm lead us through the veil of time. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. Through fog and fear we venture deep into ancient mysteries where secrets sleep. With every heartbeat we draw near to enigmas hidden in the atmosphere. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. So hold on tight as we drift away. Dan and Norm will return another day. In dreams we'll wander where shadows roam free. At the gateway to the unknown, come explore with me. As echoes linger in the night's embrace, ancient mysteries whisper, they leave a trace. With every thought that fades into dark, the gateway awaits, it ignites a spark.
Ghost sightings and apparitions have captivated human imagination for centuries, blurring the lines between the living and the dead. These ethereal encounters challenge our understanding of reality, offering glimpses into a realm beyond our physical world. From misty figures in ancient castles to modern-day poltergeists, reports of ghostly phenomena continue to intrigue both believers and skeptics alike. Whether viewed as spiritual manifestations or products of our own psychology, ghost sightings remain a fascinating aspect of our human experience, inviting us to question the nature of consciousness and the possibility of life after death.
Welcome to Gateway to the Unexplained. I need to do that over. Welcome to the Gateway.
We have 54 episodes to get through. You
Yes.
can't make the game straight.
Welcome to the podcast Gateway to the Unexplained.
That's not right either.
The unknown.
Gateway to the unknown.
I don't know why you want to say unexplained.
You named it. You named it this podcast. Do you need to write it down? Do you want me to hold up cue cards? We need cue cards.
There you go.
Can you read this? Gateway. I spelled gay. I just said gay. That's Gateway to the Unknown. GTTU. Gateway to the Unknown. Ready? How you do that?
Welcome to Gateway to the Unknown, My name is Daniel Hageman.
Oh, and I'm Norm Domek.
And this is our first podcast of one of 54. Examples of ghosts. The Brown Lady of Rhineham Hall, the Amityville Horror, the White Lady of Belite Drive, the Ghost of Anne Boylan, the Ghosts of Gettysburg, and the Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee. Have you ever seen a ghost? There are many different types of ghosts and spirits. There's the interactive personality, the ectoplasma or ectomist, the poltergeist, orbs, and funnel ghosts.
What was the last one? Funnel ghosts?
Funnel,
Never heard of that.
funnel ghost, Funnel.
Funnel. Oh, like when you're at a party and they put the funnel and they dump the beer down there? Funnel ghosts.
Yes.
They sound like the fun ghosts. So, I'm sorry. Is there more to that?
No, that's good.
That's it. So I don't know where you got that information because that's not on my notes, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm interested.
This is actually the most common types of ghosts and spirits. Have you ever seen a ghost? Many of us have had weird sensations about seeing shadows and shapes out the corner of our eye, only to find them to disappear when you turn to look in that direction. And while you may choose one of those people who is not afraid of such paranormal experiences, did you ever stop to wonder just what kind of ghostly apparition you've encountered? Maybe like most folks, you didn't even consider that there could be different kinds of ghosts out there. But the fact is, experts in the field have put together a list of definitions and types of supernatural phenomena that exist and may come in handy, especially if you've headed out to a ghost. If you've headed out on a ghost tour. I can't even read.
Have you ever been on a ghost tour?
One.
Yeah, where was it?
Downtown Butler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they once a year they do a ghost walk, and you can sign up for it, and you go, and they take you around to the different places in downtown Butler that are supposedly haunted.
Okay, now this is a worldwide audience. Downtown Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Butler is in Pennsylvania. It's probably about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh, PA.
Okay. So, have you ever had any experiences in the house you live in now or another house that you've lived in?
Actually, I have. The house that I live in now, I've actually had company to where we'll be sitting there and all at once their attention is drawn toward the front room. And I'll be sitting there watching TV, and I'll find myself looking toward the front room. I'll see what looked like somebody walked across the front room. Our family dog, he'll be comfortable on the couch between my wife and I, and all at once he'll jump up, and his focus is toward that front room. And he'll start a real low growl. Then he jumps down off the couch, and he'll go and he sits in the doorway between the living room and the front room, and you watch him, and he is tracking something. You can see his head moving, and it's like he's looking at something go across the room. And then he'll take and he starts to snort, and he starts to growl even louder. Then the growls turn to barks. when my parents lived here, I inherited this home. It was my parents' home, and when my parents were both alive, we'd come and you'd get the strongest. We even still today, you'll be sitting there and you get the strongest smell of cigar smoke or tobacco smoke. And you're looking around, you think to yourself, what on earth is going on? And you would swear that someone is in the exact room you were in, smoking on a cigar or smoking a pipe. And it's so strong, it actually takes your breath away. My mother would refer to an apparition, full body apparition, that she claims that she saw quite often. And it was an old guy with a beard, looked like he had on an old sailor captain's uniform, toking on a pipe, and he'd be standing on the stairs. And, often, how these older homes, when you go up and down stairs, you can hear the stairs creaking. And you'll be sitting there, and all at once you'll hear like step, 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 like somebody's going up the steps or somebody's coming down the steps. And it's just over the years we've grown accustomed to it. We're used to it, but it's funny that we'll have company, and they're totally unaware of it. And to see their reaction, for a fact something is going on. Also, the infamous shadow people. The shadow people are a phenomena. You'll see the outline of a full-figured apparition that's all black, and they refer to those as shadow people. And we see those quite often, walking from room to room. So your guess is as good as mine. Excuse me.
We have some episodes coming up with shadow people, so that'll be interesting. So there are other accounts of these stories. So you mentioned a few here. The Brown Lady of Ryden Hall from 1936. There's some images out there. The Amityville Horror, the White Lady of Bullet Drive, the Ghost of Ann Boleyn, and the Ghost of Gettysburg. And being in Pennsylvania, the Ghost of Gettysburg are really, really, it's a draw for anybody who has military history, such as you and I. And there are a lot of stories that can be, someone's overactive imagination, but many of them just can't be debunked. And it's pretty interesting. And that's the purpose of this podcast, is so that we can talk about some of this stuff and have some fun, and just really, really get into some of this stuff. So I have a story that I would like to read. It's from Sarah in Boston. Would it be okay if I go ahead and read that now?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. From Sarah in Boston. It was a chilly autumn evening when I decided to take a shortcut through the historic Granary burying ground on my way home from work. The sun had just set, casting a long shadow across the centuries-old tombstone. As I hurried along the path, the crisp leaves crunched beneath my feet. I suddenly felt an inexplicable coldness envelop me. I glanced up and froze. There, just a few yards ahead, stood a figure in a colonial era clothing. He was translucent, with a faint blue glow outlining his form. Our eyes met, and I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. He raised his hands, as if greeting or in warning, and then slowly faded away. Shaken, I rushed home and spent the night researching the cemetery's history. To my astonishment, I found an old painting depicting a man who looked exactly like the figure I'd seen. He was a prominent Boston resident who died in 1770, known for his efforts to protect the cemetery from development. I've walked the path many times since, always hoping for another glimpse. While I haven't seen him again, I often feel a comforting sense of presence when I pass through, as if he's still there, watching over his final resting place.
That's really interesting. I know I have something I can share. Back when both my children, they were in grade school, and of course the school had scheduled a trip to Gettysburg. So my wife and I, we volunteered as chaperones. And I know back when I was in school, I can remember arguing with my teachers, look, I don't care what happened during the Civil War. I don't care. I'm not interested in that. I'm only interested in the future, you know. Went to Gettysburg, and I literally could not get enough. I mean, it just was like I was drawn in, and I wanted to know and learn as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
We had an area where they were doing tours, and it was an area where they had places where you could sit. And we're sitting there, and of course, they were taking small groups into this area, and of course, telling them history. And then that group would come out, and then it would take another group in. So we were waiting for our turn. And I'm sitting there, and I hear movement, and I look to my right, and here's this, I thought it was somebody doing a reenactment, just a lieutenant, full dress. And I said, I like your uniform. And he looked over at me, and he kind of went like this, and he said, well, thank you very much, and I said, what, are you here for a reenactment? And he answered me, and I thought, I was telling him, well, when I was in school, I could care less about, learning about this stuff. And now that I'm here seeing it firsthand, I can't get enough. I just want to absorb all that I can. My wife, she get up and she come over and she says, who in the heck are you talking to?
Wow.
And I said, and I looked back to my right, there was nobody there.
Wow.
True story.
So
And,
when
I got goosebumps right now just even thinking about it, but it blew me away. It really did.
So when you asked him if he was there for the reenactment, what did he say?
He said, no, he said, there is no such thing as a reenactment, and I looked at him kind of funny, and I thought, well, why are you dressed that way? But I didn't say anything, and like I said, my wife, she come over and she said, who are you talking to? And I pointed and turned, and the guy was gone. And I swear, as I am sitting here, I seen a full-fledged, full-dressed soldier, but there was no place for him to have gone.
Wow.
It blew me away.
As long as I've known you, I've never heard that story.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kristen, she'll bring it up every once in a while. My daughter, Kristen, Dad, remember when we went to Gettysburg, and ironically, I took a lot of pictures, but, you'll have people that will say, I took video, and you can actually see troops moving throughout the brush and the bushes, and you can clearly see that there's something there in the video that they took. But I honestly have to say, not one picture or any video that I took, I could see anything like that. But,
Okay.
In certain areas, you did feel that there was some type of a presence. But, that deal with that lieutenant or whatever he was, just absolutely blew me away.
Wow. So let's talk about some other examples that we mentioned briefly. So the Brown Lady of Rydham Hall. In 1936, people captured what they considered one of the most famous ghost photographs in history in Norfolk, England, and it shows an image of a translucent figure descending the staircase, believed to be the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole. The photograph was published in Country Life magazine and has since been an iconic representation of ghostly apparitions.
Then you have the Amityville Horror. Happened in December of 1975. The Lutz family, they moved into a house in Amityville, New York. where apparently at some point there had been a mass murder that took place in this home. And that murder apparently occurred the previous year prior to them moving in. After 28 days, they fled the home. And they claimed that they experienced terrifying paranormal activity, including levitating beds, green slime oozing from the walls, and apparitions of demonic creatures. Uh, their story sparked numerous books and films and investigations.
Wow. That's amazing, and it's terrifying. The house that I grew up in was super haunted, and at times it was haunted, and you could see the water turn on and off. I mean, it wasn't just do I think I saw something? There were things that happened. I remember there was a bag, it was a shopping bag, plastic bag. It was on the floor, and it looked like the air conditioner may have been blowing it across the floor. We didn't have air conditioning. It was an old house built in the 20s. I was in the basement. I was about 4. I was using the bathroom, and I see this bag, kind of go across the floor, and then it shoots up to the ceiling, and then just kind of wafts down. And at the same time that it shot up, the water came on full force, and it was taken forward. And that wasn't the only thing that happened. There were so many things that happened to me in that house. There were demons that I could hear. That I would ask my mother, "What do you want? Why do you keep calling me?" She's go in her room and she's sleeping. So there was a lot of that kind of activity. So the what I want to move into next is some of the reasons. Well, let's talk about one more story here. We've got the Bell Witch. Do you want to do that? Or do you want me to do that?
The Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee, that occurred between 1817 and 1821. The Bell family reported being tormented by an invisible entity known as the Bell Witch. The spirit allegedly spoke, moved objects, and physically attacked family members. The haunting it became so well known that even future President Andrew Jackson reportedly visited the farm to investigate.
That's interesting. So I'm going to segue into conspiracy stuff here in a little bit. And the first way I'm going to do that is Andrew Jackson. There's a lot of people that say that Epstein, if you get a picture of Epstein and a picture of Andrew Jackson, and you kind of like merge the two and you make one transparent and the other one, that they're the same person, same divots, same dimples, same lines.
Really? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, check it out. Conspiracy Corner. So what the next thing about conspiracies is there's people that think that the government knows about ghosts, and that it is that some ghosts actually they're time travelers in a sense, where they're in their time and they're in our time, and because of certain electromagnetic frequencies, that it bleeds through from their time and our time, and that's the real ghost encounters, the intelligent ghost interactions. They're interacting because they're alive, but they're just not in our time. And they're not dead because they're alive in their time. So that's one of the conspiracy theories. Another one is that that it's a parallel dimension. So is that that's different than a timeline? It's something, another world that's similar to ours, and it's kind of bleeding through. So there's that conspiracy theory as well. So they're all worth investigating. I mean, what do we really know? We can't say anything for sure, because the things that are for sure are facts. And I have a list of facts. I mean, if there's anything you'd like to add about the things that I just talked about, then please do. Otherwise, if you want to start talking about some of the facts, we can do that.
Well, the ghosts or spirits crossing over or through parallel dimensions, interdimensional beings, I guess, is what you could call them. But when it comes to death, there really is no such thing as death, and people should not fear death. Uh, every living being possesses an energy field. We are energy. And when the body ceases to exist, the energy passes on into a higher form of being. And who's to say that once you pass on into that higher state of being, that you don't possess the capability of being able to slip into different dimensions, interdimensional travel. Uh, our loved ones are still with us, and we will see them again. They've passed over, they've passed into that higher realm, that higher state of being. And, once we pass away, we will join them. So we will see them again one day. So, as far as ghosts, government or conspiracy theories where the government's covering it up, and they're actively suppressing evidence of ghosts to the public. I believe they know more than what we've been told. And again, like I said, there is no such thing as death. You continue on, and you just continue on into a higher state or higher realm.
So let me ask you this, because you're not the only one that has said that when we pass, we see our ancestors, right?
Correct.
Why do you think we see our ancestors and not somebody else's ancestors? Do you think it may be a biological, something to do with our chromosomes and what we receive? Because if we see grandma and great grandma, we don't know those people, so why are they showing up to us? We know grandma, maybe, So what do you think that's about? Just curious.
Well, I think it's part of our being. I've read and I've heard reports where people have experienced near-death experiences, or they have been documented as passing away to come back. They're given that option. You can either stay or you can go back. But I've heard and I've read where they not only were able to see their entire family that had passed before them, but total strangers. And different reports where the individual would say to their past loved one, well, who is this person? Who is that person? And it could turn out that it is your great 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 grandparent that you never met, you never knew of, but it all has to do with your being, your genes, and I think it's all interconnected.
Okay, so let's talk about some facts that have been gathered, and we can always talk about is it possible that, and you can fill in the blank with everything paranormal. So what I'd like to do with some of this with the podcast is have a section of facts, because I'd like everything to be a nice balance of conjecture and possibilities and what if, and balance that with facts. And so one of the first facts that I like to talk about is about 45% of Americans believe in ghosts, or that spirits of dead people can return to certain places or situations. And we're also going to have, Dan and I are going to have all of these sources in the show notes or on the website. We're going to make it available somehow to you, so that so you can investigate some of these things yourself, because I think it's important that we source the information that we have fair and balanced. I think there's a news station out there that talks about that. I don't know. I don't want to, no trademark infringement. We're trying to be fair. We're trying to be balanced. We're just trying to get a holistic approach to all of these things. So do you want to read a couple of these facts off here, Dan?
Sure. Another fact infrared cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, EMF detectors. Those are a few devices that are commonly used in ghost hunting and capturing potential paranormal activity. I know myself, I have a couple EMF detectors. We use them for quite a few investigations, everything from the ghost end of it to, traceable UFO evidence, which that'll be another podcast at another time. But many people report ghost sightings that occur in locations where there's significant history or trauma or tragedy. Sleep paralysis can produce experiences similar to those reported in sightings, including the sensation of a presence in the room. Certain low frequency sounds, one known as infrasound, it can cause feelings of unease, visual hallucinations, and often associated with hauntings. And then carbon monoxide poisoning could also cause hallucinations and feelings of dread that have been mistaken for ghostly encounters.
You were talking about the equipment. I want to get one of those Ovilus.
Oh, yeah.
It hears the words and will say, Jack did it or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I think to me, that's the most interesting piece of equipment. I don't know anything about the equipment. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but we've got people coming on the show that do understand that. Some people build them. So I'm looking forward to asking questions about the equipment, because that's something that, the same piece of equipment can be used in different investigations and have different results. So I like that aspect, that it kind of touches on the scientific and not just the, oh, I heard this, did you hear that? Well, you've got something that actually records, can listen and record. So I'm interested in that.
I know that there are several different types of apps that you can download, either on your cell phone or your tablet. They have a EMF detector that it's an app you can download for your cell phone. They have the Ovilus app that you can download for your cell phone. Ghost hunting app. Basically what it is, it resembles a radar screen, and you'll see there are different colored dots that indicate different things, and it'll tell you, and when a certain colored dot pops up, you're looking at kind of like a bullseye, and you're the center of the bullseye. But if it detects a presence or an electromagnetic field, that will pop up and show you where in that bullseye it is in proximity to your location.
Jesus, pops up right in front of you, like, oh.
I've actually played around with them, and they work quite well for what they are.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. We're gonna have to look into that and maybe do a live with one of those apps. We'll have to reach out to the people that create those apps. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, one of our future guests, she goes by Ghost Chick, and she does a lot of research and investigation work into ghosts and hauntings. But she actually has a lot of that equipment, or sells a lot of that equipment. And I can't wait until we have her on one of our episodes. She can maybe show some of the equipment that she has and explain what it does, what it is, and how she uses it. But it's quite interesting. It really is.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I like all aspects of this. And part of what I wanted to, when we were talking about the format of the show, we were talking about putting in the psychological aspects of whatever the topic would be, and the sociological aspects of, the topics. So I would like to move into that now. I would like to move into the psychological aspects and then the sociological aspects. Then we talk a little bit about pop culture and where it's the topic of these the ghosts, how that plays into everything, and then we'll have a conclusion. I think that would be good. So with some of the psychological aspects, there our we always want answers. Our brains want answers. Our souls want answers. We're trying to look for, did I really see that? Did I really hear that? We're trying to make sense of it in a lot of ways. And sometimes we can't. And that's what I think that's the draw to the paranormal, is because we want black and white, no gray area. This is what happened, and that's it.
Absolutely.
And that's not the case. In fact, it's the opposite in most cases. That who knows what that was, or something will happen, and then you do a little research and you find out there was an issue. Something happened. For instance, where we're filming right now, somewhere, it could be right where I'm at, there was a suicide, and that entity is around. And it's kind of like Beetlejuice. I don't say the name 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps. I don't know if you see that. Because I just, I've heard things in this house where before I knew the history of doorknobs rattling, and just some really, really spine tingling stuff. And, then I find out, talking to my neighbor who lived in the neighborhood for, about 50 years, like, oh yeah, I think this house, this area might have some kind of curse to it. He's an older guy. I want to say he's over 80. He's kind of an old, gruff guy. He doesn't believe in a lot of that, but he kind of believes that there might be something happening. So that says something. And, I was at his house looking towards my house, and he was pointing out, he's like, in your house, somebody killed themselves, and the next house, somebody killed themselves. And he's pointing to all these houses where the suicides have happened. And it's like, oh my gosh, so what made people do that? What is the psychological part? And what does that psychological part, how does that play into the paranormal? And the psychological aspect for me, now that I know that, when I go to his house and kind of look back at all those houses, it makes me wonder, and how does that play into the psyche when I'm here working in the studio at 2, 3 in the morning and the house is dead silent, and then I hear something. Well, what is it? Is it just a pipe? Is it just a board? Is it just a creaky old house? Or is it something else? And I try not to, say the name 3 times and whatever, but I've been on podcasts and I've had people say that there's an entity behind you. So, and I've seen the shadows and I've seen some different things, but the psychological aspect overall for the paranormal, for everybody, how does that work? Why do we want to be scared? We like scary movies. We like horror movies. Why is that? What does that do to our brain chemistry that gives us that shot of adrenaline? Is that it, or is it more?
That's a good question. I know, just the ghost phenomena, paranormal phenomena. I have another story I can share. We lived above a grocery store, and believe it or not, that you've been to my home. This place is just down over the hill from where my home is. And, my 2 sisters and I was very young. But one year for Christmas, my parents got my sisters a Ouija board. And I'm sure for those that are listening in to the podcast, you all know what a Ouija board is.
We have an episode coming up on it.
Yes. And, my sisters, they were doing their thing. And I remember one night, they had me at the table, and, you put your hands on the plinth or whatever they call it. And I get mad and I said, oh, you guys are pushing that thing. You're moving it around to make it, give you the answers that you're looking for. Well, then I get up and I quit. I was doing something on my own, and my sisters continued to play with it. And then I find out that over a period of time, several weeks, that my mother had taken the Ouija board because they were doing things like kind of like having midnight, that the witching hour or whatever they call it. But she took it. She took it from them. She put it up in the attic. Now, I wished, I wished I could show everybody the layout of this apartment that we lived in. But the rooms were huge, and of course the rooms up in the attic were huge. And when you went up into the attic, it was like you were going into a completely different world, and it was spooky. And would kind of remind you of one of these old, dreaded, worn down, scary homes. But my mother hid the Ouija board up there, and then of course the attic door was locked, so nobody could go up there. We're sitting down to eat dinner one night, and all at once, it sounded like a bomb went off. The whole house, the windows vibrated, the whole house shook. And I mean, it shook violently. My mother turned as white as a sheet, and she said, "What on earth?" Of course, we were all afraid to go up into the attic. So I remember my mother, she called my uncle, her brother, and she had him come over. And he, my mom, and I went up into the attic. And I'm not kidding you, Norm. There were boxes and stuff stored in boxes, and it literally looked like those boxes exploded. And there was stuff strewn everywhere. I mean, broken dishes and stuff we had stored. And here is the Ouija board laying in the middle of the floor with the plaintiff on top of the board. And I got goosebumps recalling this. But no idea what caused it. Till this day, no idea what happened. But I think that my sisters, they opened up a portal, and something came through. And of course, being that the Ouija board was in the attic, that's where the portal was, and it did its thing, and then went back through the portal, but in the process, just total destruction. And I think Ouija boards are just absolute evil. I really do.
Yeah. There are so many people that, there's nothing to it. They just think, there's nothing to it. But, the Ouija board, it used to be sold at stores from Milton Bradley was the game that printed it, and to me that's just, it's mind-boggling to me. And at first, it's like, okay, all the stuff in the movies is all pretend. It's all just for entertainment. But the older I got, the more I realized that there are really credible people with some really interesting stories like yours that have lived through something that it's not explainable. It's just not. And we like those movies. We like that in our pop culture. That's, to segue into that. There's some really, really great movies out there. We've got a short list here. And if there's more, please write in and tell us your favorite scary movie. We're going to have some contact information in the show notes. But on the list we have, Dan, would you like to read the list?
Where we at, Norm?
At the bottom, the first one, it's under pop culture. We've got movies.
Pop culture. The Sixth Sense. That was a film in 1999. Ghostbusters. That was a great show. The Ghostbusters film franchise. The Haunting of Hill House. That's a Netflix series.
That's scary.
I've never seen it, but I'm going to check it out.
It is. Check it
Uh,
out. I
Ghost
tolerate.
Adventures, that's a TV show.
Mhm.
The infamous Amityville Horror, and there are multiple books and films on that. Paranormal Activity, that's a film series. Ghost Whisper, that's a TV series. That was a good series.
Yeah.
And The Others, and that was a 2001 film.
And there's so many that aren't listed on here. What are some that you could think of that should be on a must-see list or must-listen-to list for a podcast or anything like that?
I think Annabelle.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one. There are so many.
Poltergeist,
Poltergeist.
The Ring.
Yes. The Nun.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, I think
Megan,
I think that's I don't know if that's all fictitious or bogus, but it's a good movie.
I do like the ones the movies that have some sort of factual basis to them. I like that. I know they kind of, for entertainment value, they, kind of hype it up and do whatever it is that they do and Hollywoodify it. Is that the word? I understand that happens, but I do like the fact that the ones that are based in some kind of reality, but isn't everything, there's so many different kind of paranormal stories that everything could be based in reality at some point.
That's true.
So, and with that said, all of the things that people see and hear, and they're not sure if it's real or not. There's been some attempts to debunk, and I feel like that's important to have during our podcast too, is to talk about some of the, we talk about all this stuff being real. Let's also talk about how we can prove that it is or isn't. Let's prove, if it's real, let's prove it is. If it's not, let's prove it's not. But let's make that attempt. And I think that's where a lot of paranormal investigations, the ones on TV, I'm not saying all of them. I don't want to make too many generalizations, but there's that entertainment value. Can somebody that's not on the screen throw a rock and like, oh, did you hear that? And kind of get the audience, amped up a little bit? Sure. That's part of the entertainment value. Is it ethical? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. Is it moral? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's up to every that barometer, that gauge is in all of us. What's moral, what's ethical, what's not, and why. All of that. So I think that if we talk about how can you disprove it, right? And I think
Absolutely.
that there is a house that is the Conjuring house that's in Rhode Island, or any of these places that have a lot of activity. You could go in, maybe, and try to go in with a healthy blend of being skeptical and a believer, and look, if you go in saying this is 100% true, you're not going to look for wires that's moving a rocking chair.
That's true. You have to keep an open mind. Just a couple other good movies, and of course, one was based on actual fact, The Exorcist. And did you ever see 13 Ghosts?
All right, wow, that's scary.
Yeah. Those are excellent. But to take and look at it with oh, it's 100% absolute. You have to be objective. And
Right.
I tell people, keep an open mind.
Right. I think during an investigation, if you're paying $20 for a ticket at the movie theater, you want to suspend that disbelief and believe that it's all true. You're waiting for that jump scare. You're waiting for the splatter on the on this film, on the camera. You're paying for that. So there's that blend of it, the entertainment value. You want that. So you don't want to go in there like, oh, that's not true. And, you want to go in like, oh, run. Then it's all of that.
Yeah, I want that wow factor, so my bucket of popcorn goes flying up into the air.
Yeah, well, you don't want to lose it. That stuff's what, $20 a bucket now, right? Something. So let's talk about I think this would be a good spot to talk, because we've covered a balance of things. I think this would be a good spot to have a conclusion, and I'll read a little bit what I have for conclusion, and then we can talk a little bit about it and kind of take it from there. So the conclusion that I have is ghost sightings and apparitions continue to captivate our imagination, straddling the line between skepticism and belief. While science offers explanations that many reported phenomena, the persistence of unexplained experiences keeps the mystery alive. Whether rooted in psychology, environmental factors, or something truly paranormal, ghost sightings reflect our deepest fears and our endless curiosity about the unknown. They remind us that there's still too much to discover about the world and ourselves. We encourage our listeners to approach these mysteries with an open mind and to share their own ghostly encounters. After all, every story adds another piece to this fascinating puzzle of the unexplained.
That says it all, pretty much so.
It does.
Just saying that I come up with, I used quite often is, don't be afraid of the unknown. The paranormal is more normal than you think.
That's fact. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Oh, we're not alone.
Okay.
It's something to think about. We are not alone.
We are. What do you mean? And we are not alone in terms of
the paranormal.
The paranormal. So we are not there. So there are ghosts or apparitions or whatever we're calling those. And, in other episodes, we're going to talk about how we're not alone from other entities or beings that could be, called aliens. We're going to talk about that.
Correct.
I think it might be a good place to end, that we're not alone with each other either. Sometimes we feel alone, but there's people out there. There's a lot of people in this world, and we tend to kind of put ourselves, kind of stick to ourselves a little bit more and more as the years go on. But get out there, meet people, do things with people. We're still people. We need that human connection. And all this technology kind of, it's easy to just get in our own little bubble and watch our specific shows on Netflix or whatever it might be. But we are not alone. And I think that's a good place to say that I appreciate you, Dan, and I appreciate the time we spend together here. Pretty awesome.
I appreciate you too. And, you listeners out there, if you have any questions, by all means, please get a hold of us. If you have any concerns, get a hold of us. And, we all need to be there for one another and share our experiences and keep an open mind.
Yep. And if there's anything you want to send in, any pictures for any episodes that are coming up, you can send those in. Just make sure that you own those and that you own the rights to it. As long as you took the picture with your camera and it's yours or your whatever equipment you own, then you own that image and we can use that. But don't clip something out of a magazine from the 80s or something like that. Just make sure that you own the copyrights to it or whatever like that. So I think that's it. I think we're gonna move on. There's gonna be plenty in the show notes, and this is the first show of 54 within this series. Hopefully we're gonna have some more after that, but we're just trying to figure out how to hit the record button and get everything edited and published. I mean, Dan didn't even know the name of the show. Like, that's where we're at.
Yeah, by all means, we're looking for people that would be interested in being a guest on our podcast. We're also looking for sponsors. So if you would like to take advantage of that, you're interested in that, by all means, please get a hold of us.
And I'll have the information in the show notes for the website for sponsor information, but it's going to be my business number. You call and we'll take care of it. It's going to be super easy. We're looking for people who are real. We want real people, real stories, who are willing to have kind of a little bit of a lighthearted approach to some of these things, because some of these paranormal stories are based in some not so great situations, and some of those can be recent and in people's memory. So we kind of temper that with being a little bit more lighthearted and being fun and just enjoying our time together. That's
and I tried about 5 or 6 times.
we got some police activity. I hear your scanner.
It's the phone. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, mate, is that a sponsor? Let's say it's a sponsor. Don't tell everybody it's sponsors. So hurry, get your spot because they're going fast. You're supposed to laugh. I see. That was funny. Okay, there you go. A little delay.
Oh,
We'll blame it on the internet connection. All right, we're going to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the first episode of 54. We're going to have fun, so thank you for being with us. You going to say bye? You gonna say bye?
yes. Thank you. And see you next episode. Have a good evening. Stay safe. God bless.
All right. Bye.
In the still of night, where shadows creep.